Hello, and welcome back to Swamp Dog Games. Today we will be reviewing Pathfinder 2nd Edition's adventure, The Abomination Vaults. I recently did a review of a Humble Bundle that's currently active, review in the card above, where this book was so good, I felt, after looking at it quickly for that review, that I actually went out and bought a physical copy of it that I am hereby reviewing today. If you want, that bundle is still active, and a link to it is in the description below. And if you use the link in the description below, you will also help support the channel. Now, this review will be broken up into two parts. There will be the first part, which will be the spoiler-free section for players and game masters, to give you an idea of whether or not you should be interested in this adventure. The second half I will recommend for game masters only, because I will be giving out some spoilers as part of the review, some of my opinion on some of the story and mechanics, to review it for game masters. So the ratings portion of this review, so close to a nat 20. The ratings portion of this review will be at the end of the spoiler-free section. So please stick around at least for the spoiler-free review, and then some more information for game masters. Now on to the review itself. As the book goes, it's a very standard Paizo publication, book-wise, pretty sturdy book. Will survive your average gamer's table without any issues. This is as if the cover didn't give you away with the Screaming Banshee in the front, a horror-themed adventure, and particularly a mega dungeon, as it says here. If you are not familiar with a mega dungeon, this is a particular type of adventure philosophy that dates all the way back to, dare I say, at the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons, if not RPGs in general. The idea most gamers nowadays, at least in my experience through Adventure Path, through either Paizo or WotC, tend to be epic adventures that take you globe-trotting all over the place, closer to a Indiana Jones adventure, where you start in New York, end in Egypt, go to the desert in Turkey to find the Holy Grail type of epic quest. A mega dungeon is all a very confined, relatively speaking, geographical quest. Usually there'll be a town nearby or some sort of settlement where players can rest, relax, and then sell off all the loot they've gathered, and then return to delving deep below. This dungeon is no different. This isn't a spoiler again, because you'll get introduced to this within like the first 5 seconds of the campaign. There is an accompanying town, Otari, that's about 20 minutes south of the dungeon. Its relationship is this is somewhere south of Absalom, which is, if you're familiar with the Pathfinder World Glorian, is essentially, it's not the capital city. There's no world government, at least not that I'm familiar with yet, unless they've changed something in 2nd edition, that is a big mega city where the Pathfinder Society, which is their in-game group that hosts a lot of adventurers, operates out of, and is a big drawing card location. Otari's on the coast. It's mainly a lumber town. It's small for an adventure. Again, it's mainly there to facilitate some out-of-dungeon operations. Theoretically, you could use this town outside of this adventure. It could be usable as a home base for all kinds of other adventuring activity. It is, again, though, very fleshed out as a town goes. It'll even tell you the street address that everybody lives on, gives you a lot of good fluff for who's in it. But due to the size of it, it's a town that is there to facilitate the players leaving it, if you know what I mean. It's not designed for long-term stories in the township itself. It is named after a hero that is responsible for saving the town from the threat over here at the Gauntlet Keep. Again, you'll get introduced to that within like the first 5 minutes of the adventure setting. The adventure is, as I said, horror-themed. Depending upon your rule table, the GM should be a little bit careful with that. A full content warning is extreme, in my opinion. That's kind of a BS, this new gamer safety thing. But you should have people knowing what type of adventure plot line that you're going to be doing out. I generally tell my players, I'm not going to tell them everything, but I'll tell them, like, hey, this is going to be a PG adventure. This is going to be a hard PG-13 adventure. This will be a hard R RPG adventure. Thankfully, we've had nothing go up to like NC-17, but it could be a possibility one day. This is definitely in the PG-13 category. It is very horror. It is, depending upon the group, the game master does have plenty of points where he can play up the horror to turn this into an R flick if he wants to, or down to a PG if she really wants to do a lesser horror themed adventure. Though in my opinion, you lose a lot of the horror, the value of this adventure if you tone down the horror. It is designed as written to be PG-13, and I believe it should either stay that way or should be upped to really facilitate the gritty horrorness of this adventure. The adventure in Mega Dungeon is usually set up on the deeper you go into the dungeon, the more dangerous the dungeon gets. And this Mega Dungeon keeps that same design philosophy. It is recommended in the book, however, for players and game masters that the players shouldn't be level 1. They should either have gone through the starting adventure that's included in the player's beginner box, which is also in the Humble Bundle that I'm referencing, so that the players can be level 2. This adventure itself ends up taking players recommended to level 11 to fight the end evil of this adventure. My opinion, looking at this, I have not had a chance to play it yet, but looking at it, to be on the safe side, it should be a little bit higher than that. I think you really should have some external adventures to perhaps take your players away from the Mega Dungeon a little bit, some side quests around in the local area that you can sprinkle around. You should probably get your players up to 12. A party of 4 should probably be all 12, in my opinion. Though I have, again, not practically played it at level 11 to verify that that's necessary. But looking at the stats, that is my opinion on the level that you should be in this adventure. Parts of this game, of this adventure, are modular enough that you could level skip if need be. For instance, players get a little bit tired of adventuring just in the one location and actually want to go out and see the world. There are some points that they could leave, level up a couple levels, come back, and you could effectively level skip and introduce some side story to explain why a couple levels have been cleared out so that the players can get back in at their level appropriate point, so that they can still maintain some sort of challenge, and so you don't have a level 8 character going into what's recommended for a level 4 level. It's not as fully modular because of the story. You do risk having some issues telling the coherent story if you play it in such a modular fashion where you're doing massive level skips. The game master is going to be the one that needs to do all the research to make that possible. There's no level skipping assumed in this adventure, and therefore there's no ability, there's no recommendation to provide whole filler reasons to explain why whole level skips occur. This is really written on the assumption that you're going in it from beginning to end as an adventure. No need to tell your ranger who his preferred enemy is, but this book does have some other gaming material in it that is not included in the adventure per se. It does have a lot of material for alchemists so that you can expand their repertoire. These alchemical bombs, if you've played Elden Ring recently, remind me a lot of the pots in that game. So you have those add-ons for alchemist class. You do have a couple new artifacts that are all horror themed. Yeah, nothing in this book would go to the level of, let's say, Evil Dead, the first or second one, but could very easily go Evil Dead, which was the Screwball edition. The third one where he goes back in time, this could very well reach that level of horror, or excuse me, and nowhere near as bad as the Evil Dead TV show. But do be careful with some of the themes in here. There are some bits about demons in here. It does have expanded rules on demon contracts, how they work, how you can engage in them. If you don't want just your rules lawyering with the game master, you can also have them do it with a demon as well. The small bestiary in here is some expanded versions of monsters that are available in the core bestiary. So they're in the back section, some expansions like on the Corpse Light, which is an expansion on the Will-O-Wisp, Will-O-Wisp, and some other horrors that aren't necessarily in the game but could be sprinkled about by the game master if he wants to spruce things up or just bring it out of it. There are some very unique NPCs that are included in this adventure that will be available in the adventure itself that I'll go into in the spoiler section. But as it goes for this RPG to conclude the spoiler-free review of it. Hey, quick aside before I actually do the dice reveal for my rating of this. This is Future Dave here. I forgot to mention as part of this review when that Pathfinder and Paizo is also creating 5th edition versions of a ton of their adventures. So if you are an OSR player, you may, because of the power differential between Pathfinder and 5th edition D&D, as well as just some other unique issues that Pathfinder has in trying to convert to both an OSR or to just any D&D product at all, you might want to look into getting the 5th edition version of the Abomination Vaults or any of those adventures, because that will be much easier to port over into either, again, D&D proper or an OSR product. If you're playing Old School Essentials, which my group likes to play, if you're playing Castles and Crusades, you're probably going to want, again, the 5th edition version of this. So just a quick update, and now back on to the dice rating reveal. I put this at a really good, solid 15 rating overall. Now, I went out and bought this because I liked it so much. This is not necessarily one because of its horror element. It really fits in with an idea that I have currently, which is why I wanted it. Most people, you're probably not going to necessarily need to go out and buy it this moment, this book. However, if you can get it in PDF on a really good sale, again, like a Humble Bundle, like in the description below, plus you also help support the channel if you use the link in the description below, I highly recommend obtaining the book that way. If there's a future sale or you can get this used, like let's say you go to your friendly local game store and they've got this for $10 or $15, I recommend you scarf it up because it's a really good adventure that you should own if you can get it on sale. If horror is your thing, definitely get this book. Otherwise, wait till it gets on sale. But when you get a chance for a discount, this is really worth that discounted price. This is the end of the spoiler-free section, so this is where I recommend to players that you probably want to leave now and just let us game masters stick around and discuss with each other about the spoilers of this RPG. Otherwise, you will have the plot ruined for you, significant portions of it, as well as, my opinion, it will go into a little bit more in-depth with some complaints I have it, because I do believe they relate to spoilers, but this is recommended for game masters, this section going forward. So, your final warning. Goodbye, gamers, and hello, game masters. So, you play this game, and what happens is after you defeat the big horror at the end, it's a big robotic scorpion monster, you end up going to a Mars base where you end up launching nukes at Earth and become god of the planescape at the end of it. Yeah, if you know anything about games, you could probably tell my bluff on that one. That's just my last minute warning to all players about why they should leave now. Alrighty. So going into the spoiler section of it, the writing of the game is not bad. It does feel very derivative of some adventures that we've already had before. Nothing that it's like outright stolen, but it's like, I think I can see the inspiration in here quite throughout. Like, even looking at the main adventure itself, you're fighting Belcora. She is a descendant of the Haruv's family. My dyslexia is really kicking in badly trying to read some of these names. So, essentially, her family made a secret deal with an outer god for great wealth and power, but now, and they were kicked out of Absalom for it, but now they're having to enact horrific rites of worship to meet their end of the deal in order to keep it up. Unfortunately, they were kicked out. Most of them were killed by Otari, who will pop up later in this adventure. If you look at the description, to me, reading about the plot of the family and kind of the elder god that they're worshiping, not elder, the outer god that they're worshiping in here, it reminds me a lot of the first Silent Hills game, the relationship with that cult and their god. It reminds me a lot of that relationship. So again, not a rip-off, because there are some significant differences in here, but I feel in the back of my mind that that is a heavy source of inspiration. The Silent Hill story somehow subconsciously got part of the inspiration for this story. The game, as I said, is horror themed as an adventure. As a game master, it includes at the beginning, I hate this garbage here, the content warning that you should negotiate with players. It's like, you're the game master, okay? Grow a pair, and have a talk with your players about the type of adventure you want to have. Yeah, that's a good thing, but tell them, like, hey, this is a PG-13 because I'm going to approach these issues. There's no need to go into content warning, but you know your group. Go, no, you should know by now what your players like. Go have fun with it. But do be warned that written as is, there might be some parts that if you have a group maybe of younger kids, you're going to need to tone it down to be PG. And if your players want to, I wouldn't recommend going above the PG-13 level. I am not necessarily a fan of a hard R horror experience, though I am a fan of, for instance, Hellraiser as a hard R horror experience. Maybe in that vein you could do something. There is some body horror though that does get like Hellraiser levels in here. As you go through the township, again, it's designed mostly to facilitate your interactions with the dungeon. There's very little in here that is so amazing that, oh, I want this town in all my adventures. Sandport is a township in their first Rise of the Rune Lord that I can pretty much just plop anywhere and have use for it in any campaign if I just need a city quick and am too lazy to come up with one. This one is less useful for multi-adventuring games unless you just need it that they just unload all their loot at the end of the day. It does provide a lot of nice fluff for the game master to be able to really flesh out what the town is like and get some good handle on the NPCs in here. They provide some very nice portraits that allow you to get a really good insight on their personality type. Even this fluff, like the exact street address they live at, I'm a big fan of that type of fluff mechanic, and I'm so glad that they do have that. I'm also glad that Pathfinder adopted this handy, like a how would you put it? Not trait system, but NPC, a quick identifier system that you can go, oh, employer, therefore they're going to be the boss of a couple people. Employee, the discount, therefore they're going to be able to a merchant, a church or lodging, so that you know an idea of a quick at a glance of what they do. Even if you don't need the full description, you can go, the store, church. It's church. It can provide lodging if need be, and then if the players really want to interact with it, then you can engage more directly. You are provided with an NPC that effectively works as the game master's in-universe interaction with the players. So if you do need to facilitate their adventure, you need to, maybe they missed some plot points, you need to help them out or give them suggestions, this NPC is your point of call to interact with them directly, to engage and help smooth over maybe some issues that arise if they don't grab all the information in this adventure. Starting at level 1, nice little creepy song that it starts out with. My first thought was the song from the Friday the no, not Friday the 13th. Which were the Freddy Krueger films? Nightmare on Elm Street. The when the fog is creeping low and the moon is low. I need to figure out with a tune. D&D Adventure Path had a great epic once where you're diving into the Underdark and it told you which tune to actually use, and it told you Pop Goes the Weasel for the song, so everyone could actually sing it. I wish I knew the tune in here, but it does I did get the very Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street feel. When the frog, yeah. Dyslexia, not fun. Okay. When the fog is creeping and the moon is low, when the town is sleeping, Gauntlight starts to glow. That's when she arises for her midnight lunch. Naughty kids are prizes for her teeth to crunch. But if you obey me and obey the rules, then you're safe from Bellicora. She just eats the fools. Yeah, kind of dumb, but definitely, if you're a fan of the actual old school kids' tales like Bluebeard or was it the Brothers Grimm, when they wrote all those fairy tales that Disneyfied it. If you go to the like the original Cinderella, there's a lot of body horror involved and mutilations and cutting off of limbs. This is kind of in that vein. So you start off at the first level of the adventure. It provides some creature miscomforts. If any of you have any sort of bug phobia, I feel sorry for you. That your chance to get introduced slowly to it, that some things are wrong. It does start off quickly. The idea, some hints that some things are going wrong in here. The players will get introduced that some strange crap is happening here. The um, lighthouse effectively has been activated, and the township is a little bit worried that some creepy crap has been going on here, and some people have gone in and gone lost and not come back. Quickly though, going into like level 2, then you'll encounter things like Mr. Beak here. If you've seen the horror movie Puppet Master, my initial thought looking at this guy was that. You start getting into the underground levels of this place, and there was an error I need to make sure that I highlight here. You're definitely going to be getting plenty of worms. If you have that purple worm miniature from D&D or Pathfinder, you're going to get a lot of use out of it in this. There's plenty of unique creatures and NPCs throughout, so you're not going to have to keep constantly going to just the bestiary. You're going to have some one-off monsters that have grown up in here. There are a little selection of traps, but it does rely a little bit more on the creeps and the ghosts. You do have lots of shadows. You're going to need to try to, in my opinion, figure out how to like subtly indicate there's going to be a lot of undead in this campaign so that they can pre-set up for it. You're going to need a cleric. Oh, and my least favorite character of everyone, the demon baby janitor. Oh my god, the demon baby. The one monster in here that scares me worse than anything else. So, this family that engaged in all of these infernal contracts decided to hire and get a demon baby janitor that Bellicor apparently got in such a tiff with that she forces the damn thing to clean all the floors of the decaying castle. Granted, it wasn't decaying in the day, but to lick it up with his tongue. And my immediate thought is, I don't care how evil you are. Why would you want to walk on any surface that this creepy thing licked? I mean, this is horrible enough. I would love to also know who had the bug phobia at Paizo, because all their demons, granted, my mythology isn't as good as it should be, or RPG mythology isn't as good as it should be. Like, give me classical Greek mythology. I remember that from college. But the demon monster in Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, which I played recently in a live stream, that was half praying mantis, half man, giant creature, like 4 stories tall. Now we got the demon babies, the janitors licking up all the damn floors. Like, why would you want to? There's going to be plenty of demons that you can engage in with contracts that they can assist you in if you help them by helping them out of their infernal servitude to this family. This one, though, I'm like, smite the damn thing. Like, get them Raid Shadow no, not Raid Shadow Legends. Get them Raid in here, quick, and be gone, foul demon baby. The Holy Church of the Raid Spray says that you shall be banished back to the janitor's closet from which you came. Ah! And, yeah. Again, I'm... Maybe just because I'm not an evil megalomaniacal villain that engages in infernal contracts with demons. But why would you want this as your janitor? It's like, do something more classic. Get some skeletons or some ghosts or something. Like, why that? Especially if you're going to have to lick everything. You're going to have to touch what it licked. You creepy Bellicor woman, man, you are the worst Karen, and I am glad that we kill you at the end of this adventure. Some creepy stuff. Oh, there are a couple errors in here. This is what I would want to highlight from the printing. For example, here it says the map of the library level appears on page 54. Well, this is page 53. This is page 54. The library level is on page 52. There are page numbers are a couple errors in here. It does make me wonder if something was like cut out last minute. There's a couple sections in here that don't feel like totally complete in their writing, and makes me wonder if maybe something was a little bit like too edgy for Paizo to publish, and so they pulled it out last second. Because there are a couple minor errors that seem to be like formatting issues, or maybe it was just they wrote it and things were different places originally supposed to be, but they're obviously errors, but they seem to indicate maybe something got shifted around last moment. So I wonder if we'll one day see the director's cut Abomination Vaults. There's a couple cults in here. This is one of those points where if, let's say, you're coming into this later level, this could be a point for game masters to draw them in. Maybe the cult, which here is become very cannibalistic because it doesn't want to be exposed to the outside world. You could instead have it that they've just eaten too many of their members, and so now they're trying to raid the town for feed in order to keep them going. Again, level 3 that we're on is assumed for where's the appropriate level chart in here. I should probably put my finger here to remember, because we'll be coming back to this a couple times. Level 3 is recommended for 4th level characters. Okay, so just add 1. For 4th level characters. So let's say you did other adventuring, you want your players to come in here later. This is a good point to bring them into the story and have them just skip some of the upper levels, maybe modify, keep a couple of like the big NPCs, but get rid of some of the other filler villains at those levels, so they can get down to their level appropriate one. These cultists, again, are trying to worship Bellicora and get her god summoned into this realm. So plenty of ghoulish cultists. There is an opportunity if you want to turn this into a comedic farce. There is a ghost librarian / researcher that ended up turning into one because the love of her life was too involved in worshiping Bellicora and their god rather than focusing on her. So now she's a ghost and handles the research that is occurring in the real world just because she's on ghostly autopilot. There could be an opportunity to insert some comedy as she's somewhat of a Karen and a slave driver of overseeing her researchers. So that is one point to bring in perhaps some comedic rest in that level. Long Dream the Dead. There's another point in here that is also a really good checkpoint for bringing characters into this adventure. Otari, you'll meet him through it. He'll explain more in depth about what happened to the adventure. Is it Experiments in Flesh? There's another big point. You'll be encountering, as I said, lots of unique ghosts and NPCs in here. No, this is where the body horror really kicks up. There's an underground gladiatorial arena. Out of all levels, these quote laboratories is the one that is probably most useful for downtime activities of the players after they clear it of the enemies or get it into a usable state. Where is it? There's another point where the Gauntlight Tower ends up activating the graveyard of poor Otari. This is one of the researchers that you can encounter down here. Yes, this is actually a sentient creature that engages in body horror experimentation and stuff. There's this is the Infernal Demon level, so if your players don't mind... Oh, and another demon baby. This one, thankfully, ain't no demon baby janitor, but Uh, but plenty of times that you can, quote, rescue demons from their infernal contracts. However, there are a couple points where you can also then actually grab them and enslave them if you want, though that would be, in my opinion, definitely decidedly an evil act. The big plot, though, of the story is that Bellicor, again, trying to summon their god into existence, she was stopped but not killed, and so she's been slumbering or her soul's been slumbering for the past 500 years. She's now been activated and trying to restart her plot. It's not a world domination per se. Uh, I mean, it can easily turn into that. Her main motivation is she's pissed off at the city of Absalom and its descendants because she views them as who got in the way of her family's demonic worship and destroyed them, so they mostly ended up dying penniless. Her goal is the destruction of Absalom proper, is her primary motivation. It can easily get morphed into a world domination after that. I mean, theoretically, if your players are evil, you could perhaps end up turning this into we fight to serve her and her wacko god opportunity, and then you just have her and leading a demon army full of all kinds of demon babies. Oh, beware the army led by the demon babies. You shall flee in terror from the demon babies before they lick your boots. For no sane person wants to engage in the demon baby janitors. Oh, hell no. Forget the fighting them in battle. I don't even want them licking my armor, damn it. If anyone watches some political podcasts, they might get the reference that I'm making. I'm not going to expose who I'm talking about, but yeah, some political podcasts. This is Bellicora herself. She's a big ghost, as I said. In my personal opinion, though, you should probably be level 12, but I have only played Pathfinder 1st Edition. I bought Pathfinder 2nd Edition. We played it a couple times. I begged them. I told it's a good game, but everyone at my table wanted something else. So, and unlike other groups, like I know I've seen groups like Questing Beast. Well, you're the game master. If they want to play the game, you should be able to show them what game we want to play. No, we are true old school gamers in that all of us are actually capable and want to game master ourselves. So having that discussion is completely moot because if the table doesn't want to play it, they're all game masters. We can all host our own game. We'll play whatever, and whatever majority support is what we end up playing. And I end up, unfortunately, losing the Pathfinder support. But because of that, my combat experience with this one isn't as good, as I'm trying to make some inferences with my limited experience with Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So, as written, it might work just fine, and I might be overly cautious. But in my view, personally, level 12. But once you do, then you never have to fight their god per se. But again, if you look in here, the artwork, by the way, whoever the artist was, I wish you weren't just a line artist and had your name scribbled in the corner, because I would love a print of this. This is their outwardly god. She is referred to in the feminine, so I'll keep doing that. But she visually is a very outworldly, chaotic god. The visual reminds me a lot of Slender Man. I really like this visual with this outer being here. She's chaotic evil, so in the planar realm, this wouldn't be Limbo. One of the more chaotic outer evil realms. But again, when you look at the dogma in here, the type of cultist, the relationship between her and the Horvick's family, it kind of reminds me of God from Silent Hill. Again, I could be wrong. Put it in the comments below if you disagree. Maybe they've altered the story enough that in Silent Hill that it's no longer accurate, that comparison. But you do have the opportunity to theoretically have you have the priestesses that can engage, and you could theoretically have a new god to interact with if you need a new unique evil deity that isn't popular in the Pathfinder proper setting. As I said, in my opinion, really worth it. Not so great that you need to just go out and get it. There's a couple writing issues that tones it down a little bit more than it could have. There's a couple errors in here. I think my solid 15 score on it is really good. I believe if you can get this on sale, highly recommend it. It's worth putting into your repertoire for horror. That way you can pull these NPCs, these horror ones out when need be, and include them in other adventures. They are very modular, in my opinion. Those NPCs, a game master can easily adjust them to their own horror setting, pull them out. This physical location, you'll have to be very careful with it. It's not as modular as some mega dungeons because of how tightly connected various levels are with the story progression. For instance, the one where you actually meet Otari, you really have to figure, if you're higher level than that Otari level, you still have to be able to get your players interested in going into the deeper levels, but still have to really get them to engage with Otari for a lot of story, in my opinion. So this is one that you really need your players to commit to the mega dungeon, that they are bound by some oath to go rid it of all its demonic horrors or something, because if you get out of this trying dungeon for a prolonged period, in my opinion, getting them back into it is going to present some issues for the game masters. By all means, not impossible. Just be aware you're going to have your work cut out for you trying to smooth over a lot of issues that are caused by leaving this dungeon for any reason. Compared to some other dungeons, mega dungeons, they were popular because you could just go in, dungeon delve, and leave. The story was very thinly placed on top. This is highly integrated. So you want to be very careful about not constantly engaging in here. You don't want your players to leave. So you do, as a game master, need to keep it interesting and keep them engaging, while also providing, ironically, some local small adventures, side quests for them to engage in to make sure that they remain level appropriate, particularly if you're a game master that prefers combat avoidance. This does force combat at a couple points. It just realistically is not avoidable. I mean, the main threat is you have to engage in combat to defeat her, because she is a ghost. Trying to negotiate is realistically not feasible. I mean, if you as the game master really want to do it, or if you're an evil party and go, we bend the knee and swear fealty to you, Bellicor, we will help you raise Absalom to the ground, I guess you could resolve it without combat, but this is one that is not going to be as rewarding to non-combat players. You really need to engage in that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review. If I got anything wrong, if you've played this and from beginning to end and can voice your practical opinions for having actually played it, please include those in the comment section below. Again, it is available in a Humble Bundle, currently on sale. I'll also have the link to the normal place where you can purchase this on Paizo's website as well. We do have a new weekly live stream on Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week we'll be doing the topic of the best RPG to introduce complete newbies into the gaming hobby, specifically the RPG gaming hobby. Beyond that, there will be a weekly podcast going forward. Hope to see you all there. Hope you enjoyed the Abomination Vaults. Hope you didn't get too spooked out. And, I forgot to mention, there is a 5th edition compatible version of this that is coming out. Paizo has apparently, when I was looking on their website to get the link, has apparently started porting over a ton of the stuff to 5th edition. So if you have issues with the power differential between Pathfinder and 5th edition, they're making that easier for game masters and just publishing a straight up 5th edition version. That admittedly, if you're doing an OSR, you're probably going to need the 5th edition version over Pathfinder. But if you're already heard this, then I'll be making comments below. So, see you all next time. Hope you enjoyed this review. And remember, for God's sakes, please don't have no demon baby janitors. I mean, come on, you want this thing licking your floors? You want this thing licking your walls? I mean, considering he's a demon and is probably trying to screw you at every available opportunity, look at this thing, he's probably also licking your toothbrush. Come on, man. No, the hell with the demon baby. Get the demon baby away from me. No demon baby janitors. I don't care what realm of existence you be on, there shall be a universal law that the demon baby janitor is banned from all existence. No sane person should ever engage in a demonic contract to engage the services of the demonic demon baby janitor, and you shall murder whoever was insane enough to end up hiring such a thing. Begone, foul demon baby! Begone!